You join us 2 miles in our history hike, where we have already witnessed the beautiful East Coast sunset along with demolished World War II coastline defences. Even young Parker explored inside the dark and haunting pillboxes still standing in the cliff line today. We brought you natural springs and World War I pillboxes and demonstrated how a simple seawall was used as an anti-tank defence in the World War. Now we move on. Join us as we look into Lowestoft's fishing industry, the important port of Lowestoft, and of course Victorian Lowestoft.
Right, we've just gone past the 5,000 steps. It's all healthy, ladies and gents. Getting us out and about in the beautiful seaside.
As we approached the Deans, Parker took particular interest in what looked like a large beacon marker that would warn ships at sea of the hazardous coastline here. He then insisted that I should film him doing the monkey bars. And then he done the army net, something I quite enjoyed doing in my childhood back in the 1990s. We then had a brief water break, and I suspect David had something to eat, and then Parker wanted to try the slide. And well, it's true what they say, you can't take the boy out of a man.
We're gonna go up here.
Now, if you remember, in part 1 I mentioned the Roman lookout that was built near on 2,000 years ago but has since been lost to the sea. The current lighthouse you can see here was built in 1874, but versions of this would have been rebuilt and rebuilt again and again over centuries gone by. It now shines high up in the cliff with its bright white paintwork and powerful light that lights up the sky at night, warning ships away from the hazardous coastline near the Deans and Ness Point.
Right, as we approach the nets, ladies and gentlemen, these nets were for drying fishing nets back in the 18 and 1900s when the fishing industry in Lowestoft was booming. They used to hang their nets on these drying racks, all protected now from the public by this fence, but still exposed to the elements. So over the years the wood will eventually rot away, like this post here, and it will be no more. Just over in the background there you can see them gable ends of them old buildings. I would imagine they are from the 1800s, and they would have been for perhaps storing nets, storing boats for the fishing back in the day. And David over here has been looking up the information on the scores.
Yep, so the scores from the High Street all the way down to Watblode Road, there's 11 left. I believe there were about 14 before, but 11 remain. They're narrow access points from the top down to the bottom of the cliff. They've all got varying levels of history. Rant score in, on my hand, 1643, 12 royal sympathisers were arrested by Oliver Cromwell, and in the 1700s, King George II was taken up the score when his craft was forced to land on North Beach due to rough seas. They're probably the biggest names you'll notice from the scores, but there's a lot of history, all unique ones. One's called Highwayman score, I think, because it's got like an elbow in it, and people used to get robbed there all the time, drunk sailors mostly.
Adding to what David said, the scores were narrow steps that led down to the Lowestoft's old beach village, centred around the fishing industry dating back to the 1760s. Unfortunately, the last of the beach village was cleared in the 1960s, leaving behind the net drying racks, which is now a lonely representation of what was once a busy fishing community at the Deans.
Martins, Rant, as I mentioned before, Wilds, Maltsters and Spurgeons and Herring Fishery. So I think it's Maltster's score is the one that was with the elbow in, where people used to get robbed a lot.
So there's a lot of history going on, and they do every year, ladies and gents, they do a scores race in Lowestoft. So if you ever fancy coming to Lowestoft and you're a fitness fanatic, they do a running race, which David is probably keen to do. You've been there? No. But they do it every year, up and down the scores, and it looks very, very hard. Hence, I haven't tried it.
Come join Dale on history hikes through UK beaches and countryside.
get you out more like this. This is nice, all fresh air, beautiful seaside. Lovely. Morning.
Bird's eye, Dale. There's bird's eye.
Yeah, so bird's eye. I was going to say a bit about bird's eye. That's where all your fish fingers come from. So in line with the fishing industry in Lowestoft, bird's eye stationed themselves here. Not sure what date it was.
What was the first thing they made there, Dale?
Fish fingers.
No, it was waffles.
Waffles?
Potato waffles.
Waffles?
Yeah, potato waffles.
I like waffles.
Yeah.
But
In a fish finger sandwich, Dale, with a waffle, cheese slice, mayo.
it's always best to make your own waffles because they're not processed. So you make them yourself, and they're not processed food.
When do you last make your own waffles then, Dale?
Never. As we come up to another fisherman, all points towards the historic fishing town of Lowestoft.
Any luck? Yeah. Any luck?
2 so far.
No.
Whiting? Yeah.
At the moment.
Nice day for it though, isn't it?
Gorgeous, isn't it? Nice breeze.
Little rattle there.
Yeah. That's all you get on these.
Do you take the whiting or do you put them back?
Put them back.
Oh dear.
That's good enough.
Yeah, I always find whiting are not great to cook, are they?
I'm after them big bass that come in.
The bass? Yeah. What, is it just about season now, is it? It's for bass? Yeah.
Yeah, just keep warming up.
My dad had a 7-pounder once,
Did he?
just a bit further down near Pakefield.
I've seen one brought out through spinning on the side.
Yeah. My friend lives in Cumbria. He spins for bass all the time. He gets loads up there. Loads on the west coast. But yeah. Good luck anyway.
Thanks.
See you later.
Who's getting kicked back?
When the tide's low, you can walk out on that.
As we approach Nest Point, ladies and gents, we step down to where low tide has revealed the concrete below the standard walkway that Parker's on. And you can see that when this was put down, there's primitive footprints in the cement. Now obviously these aren't prehistoric like you can get in some Jurassic parts of England, but back in the Victorian days maybe, when this was first laid in concrete, the Victorians decided to ruin it with their footprints. Right, ladies and gents, as we approach the plaque for the most easterly point in Britain, called Nest Point. Apparently, according to David, it was laid in the 1990s.
Early 90s, yeah.
So let's turn you around and show you
A lot of missing now.
the plaque.
Unfortunately, a lot of these have been ripped off. The whole section is missing.
So what's this showing us, David?
How far away we are from certain points and the direction.
So let's find a decent point to show the viewers. So, west. So basically we're standing on a big circle and we need to get out of the way of the shadows, Parker. We're standing on a big circle which around the outside you've got brass plates. It shows you which direction we are facing and also tells you how far you're away from some points. So, there says London 106 miles.
All right, Dale,
What's that one?
let's have a guess then. Madrid. How many miles do you think we are from Madrid?
Madrid, I would say 340.
Parker, what do you reckon?
500 roughly.
Parker's closer.
Yeah!
873.
873 miles from Madrid. And as you can see, this is what it looks like. It's like a big pinwheel right next to the shortest route
I've got one.
across from the East Angles. What one have you got? Dunkirk. Now, obviously this ties in with the World War. So Dunkirk, is that in France? Dunkirk in France?
How many miles?
Dunkirk. No, Dunkirk's in France, I think. Anyway,
How many miles?
I'm going to say 840.
David, how many miles do you think it is?
175.
David's closer.
104 miles. So my geography is terrible.
It is France. It is France. Dad.
It is France, isn't
Yeah.
it? So my geography, my geography's just got a little bit better because I knew Dunkirk was in France.
We look here, look. Luxembourg is the only European country whose capital has the same name. And if you travel 754 miles about 30 years ago, you'd find England really embarrassed by San Marino scoring that early goal against us. Do you remember that?
In the football, that is, ladies and gents. We're talking about the football there. So yes, here we are in the most easterly point in Britain, Ness Point.
The Big Wally's Windmill.
For the bird lovers amongst you, as you come down towards Ness Point and you're local, there's cuttlefish galore. If you want some cuttlefish for your parrot or budgie, thank me later. Are you going to get some for your bird? You don't like it? As I approach the windmill, you can hear the sheer velocity that the wind power creates. If you listen to those blades going round.
It was at this point David finds a dead seagull that may have been hit by the wind turbine. Now Lowestoft protects the smaller birds called the kittiwake. In fact, we have 2 nesting hotels off the coast here to encourage breeding. As we made our way close to the port of Lowestoft, we passed the Lowestoft Players, an amateur theatre group here in Lowestoft founded in 1967, and also the Bingo Hall, a popular place for the elderly and families to come while on holiday in Lowestoft for a bit of light-hearted fun. I then took a keen interest in some rather pleasing mosaics high upon these 2 buildings that reminded me of the Viking ships, but on reflection were probably a bit later, between the 14 and the 1600s. We then headed towards what is now called the Old Bridge in Lowestoft, crossing the channel, and was built in 1972, commonly referred to the locals as Lowestoft Bascule Bridge. Lowestoft recently gained another crossing that you can see in the distance, rightly named the Gwing Bridge, and is largely classed as an engineering masterpiece. The Harbour Inn has changed its name over the years, but with a nightclub above it, back in the day, me and David were regular visitors growing up.
And we're only here today because the people that fought in the Great Wars fought for us to live our lives as we can and do. So, Parker, that's important to remember. People died so you could live your life. So as we arrive at Lowestoft Harbour, in line with the wars, this was a major strategic port for the Navy. It was such an accessible part of the country. As I've already said, the beaches to the north and south were heavily defended by pillboxes and batteries for anti-tank guns, and the Germans bombarded Lowestoft, knowing this, in World War II. It was one of the most bombarded places in England.
In fact, Lowestoft port and coastline were littered in sea mines to put off the German U-boats from attacking. However, the air raids on Lowestoft were regular, with the deadliest raid occurring on the 13th of January 1942, when a stealth German bomber snuck its way over the town, dropping 4 high explosive bombs near London Road North, killing 71 people and injuring another 150. Later nicknamed the Waller's Raid, local historians wrote about Lowestoft with titles such as A Town at War and The Worst Raid, confirming the town's strategic importance as a port in World War II. The Germans recognised this and continuously tried to bomb the town into submission.
But not only to do with the war, this, as I've already said, was one of the biggest fishing harbours in the country. And David has been looking up his local history on his own town to bring you this.
Hello, Dale.
Hello, David.
So in the 1890s, there was over 800 drifters registered here, which was more than anywhere else in the country. And at its peak in 1913, 535 million herring were caught in the season. And to put that into perspective, the herring season is only around 3 weeks long.
3 weeks long for 535
We're talking nearly 200 million fish a week.
million fish.
Just herrings.
So you can see, ladies and gents, Lowestoft is just more than the war. It was feeding the country. Right, Parker's a bit tired, aren't you, mate?
Yeah.
Are you going to crack on? You got a few more miles, haven't you?
No, I'm not going to do all that. I'll probably do like a few more minutes.
So how many hours have we done so far? 3 hours 39 minutes.
Yep.
And 11,398 steps.
Osmo Action 5.
Have I what? Osmo 5, yeah.
Yeah, my phone trying to connect to you. What's going on there?
Yeah, we're just doing a YouTube video today.
That's alright, no problem. How you found the Action 5? Is that I've got the Action 4.
Brilliant.
Are they really?
Well, I didn't have the 4, I only had the 5, but
Okay.
because I've got the drone and the Osmo 5 and the microphones,
Alright, okay.
connection and everything's brilliant, you know, and
Okay.
it's a magnetic fitting.
Yeah. So I got the 4. I'm just because I'm flying drones and stuff like that. Because the drone don't have audio, don't they? So
No.
would that mic connect to so let's say if I want to do some drone footage, but obviously it's no audio. So I could so the person like yourself now can wear it now, and then would that pick up anything?
I haven't done it before. I mean, you can obviously record your audio on this microphone and then fly the drone at the same time, and that'd all obviously
Sync.
be an audio file.
Okay.
But I'm sure, like, because you're flying the drone on an app,
Yeah.
either on your phone or part of the control,
Yeah.
depends what control you got, I'm
got
sure
the
that would,
RC2, I think.
yeah, I'm pretty sure this is connected to the fly app. Yeah, I was walking down here,
I
yeah.
was asking, it's fine, I'm more than happy to be on it, but it's just, I'm just because I tried to connect my phone to the Bluetooth on this one,
Yeah.
and it comes up Action 5 Cosmos. What's going on here? Not me. So, okay,
Yeah.
then, mate, that's
No,
sorry
you-
to trouble you.
You
but
can carry
I'm
so
just,
much stuff.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a gas man. I'm going to support you now. Yeah.
Alright,
Right,
see
mate.
you later.
Yeah, mate.
Cheers. He's friendly.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
We're now going to be entering the Victorian section of the town. The big Victorian B&Bs.
The Victorian swimmers.
So as we walk down the main Lowestoft promenade, we're now going to enter the Victorian section. The vibrant section where the Victorians built big houses to show them how big their muscles were and how much money they had. And that's what all these now converted houses are, B&Bs from the 1890s, I would say. Great place to come on holiday if anyone is wondering. They've spent a lot of money on the seafront, haven't they, David?
Yeah, they're having rejuvenation at the moment. A lot of money going into
Rejuvenation, that is a good word.
Yeah. Got loads of good words now.
David's vocabulary is on point today.
Described as articulate as a child.
Yes, very articulate. But yes, if you look over yonder, all their B&Bs, some of them are flats. But the bigger Victorian B&Bs are just down the road and up the hill. So we're walking up the higher parts of the promenade in Lowestoft, heading towards Pakefield, which in itself is a very historic place. Is it a town, Pakefield, or a village? A district. But as you can see, massive Victorian buildings, treble stacked bay windows. The people who owned these had a lot of money and they weren't scared of showing it. And then you've got the beach where Baywatch was filmed. I'm obviously only joking about Baywatch, but as you can see, the beach is wide in this part, very clean. Most years it wins Beach of the Year in the UK. So again, if you ever want to come on holiday, Lowestoft is the place to be.
We get blue flag most of the year, don't we?
Yeah, blue flag. Well, Parker is excited. He's found a football. No one about, so no one's claiming it apart from him.
Very flat. Very flat.
If it keeps him happy, then I'm happy because he'll stay out with us. Come on, mate. Pass the ball there, and I'll help you up. Oi!
Very nice football. Flat football.
Good boy.
Very nice.
Lovely modern beach huts. I think they might set you back, how much? 30 grand each? So a lot cheaper than Southwold. So again, holiday in Lowestoft. Invest in Lowestoft. And give me a shout if you do come to Lowestoft. David's always willing to have a cup of coffee, aren't you, mate?
Yep, chai latte.
So as we set off in search for a chai latte for David, we were heading towards the Jurassic Cliffs of Pakefield and one of the most unique churches in England. So far, we had hiked 5 miles from Corton to Pakefield, with history at every turn. Join us on the last leg of the journey in part 3 for the conclusion of this rather interesting history hike.